What's going on, everybody? It's be your boy DJ Anonymous with Sports Biz Music, the podcast, episode 115. And I got a special guest on the show. I got my boy Jake Fleshner. Correct?
Jake Fleshner, you got
Jake
it.
Fleshner.
Jake Fleshner, you got it.
Jake Fleshner, man. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I know you're in Miami. I'm in LA. We got good weather, so I can't complain.
Oh, yeah. I know when I went to LA, somebody told me this too. They warned me. They was like, at night it get cool. And, for me, I'm thinking like Miami, LA, the same thing. Like at night it get kind of like, humid and stuff. But when I went to LA and it was around this time, but it was in May, it's 58 degrees here at night. So I dang. So I like next time I got to bring like a sweater or something.
Yeah, it's hot during the day, cold at night.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the desert. Like I remember someone asked me, they was like, "Oh, is Miami like more tropical?" Like Florida. I like, yeah. Like if you comparing the two cities, like I say, LA is more like the desert, and then over here is more like, I guess like it's more like trees and stuff. But it's all, to me, it's similar. It's just that LA is bigger than Miami.
100%. Were you born and raised over there?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What do you do over there? What are you up to?
Right now, I have the podcast going on, and I'm also working with a Boys and Girls Club, as a coordinator, social rec coordinator. So I'm pretty much in charge of the different activities or whatnot. So let's say one day you want to come down and or you have an event down here and you want to come and talk to the kids, you just let me know.
Yeah, we would love that. That'd be great. I could give you a rundown of what I do if that'll help.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like give the people, introduce yourself and then, give like a rundown of what you do.
Let's do it. Well, first, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you. I know you're hustling out here, putting out podcasts all the time, so I'm honored to be on here. But yeah, my name is Jake Fleshner. I'm born and raised in LA, and my current title right now is I'm the Director of Public Relations for Sportsbook Marketing at David Meltzer Enterprises.
Mm-hmm.
David Meltzer is a pretty well-known person on social media.
Right.
He's also the co-founder of Sportsbook Marketing at David Meltzer. That's his name. Basically, what I do for him is I am the talent booker for his podcast called The Playbook Podcast. It's run through Entrepreneur Magazine. We're the number one podcast through Entrepreneur. We're top 50 in the business category on Apple. So we push a lot of podcasts out like yourself. We have celebrities, athletes, and entrepreneurs on. And part of my job is I'm the talent booker. So I either bring in inbound requests and I make it happen, I schedule it, or I get outbound requests. Some of the people who have helped schedule are Katie Couric, Ja Rule. We got Colin Sexton coming on today, my boss's podcast actually. Who else we had on? We've had Jim Quick, Wim Hof. We've had Colin O'Brady. A bunch of people that I help facilitate the promotion as well as scheduling for Entrepreneurs the Playbook podcast. And then I'm also the head of PR for David Meltzer's personal brand as well. So I help him with his speaking engagements around the world. He's a world-renowned keynote speaker. So I travel with him wherever he goes. I've been lucky enough to be to about 26 states over the last 9 months, just traveling with him.
Right.
As well as getting a chance to go to India for 4 days. That was last month, where David was speaking to 2 universities and inspiring over there. And his main concept is he's sort of a business-minded and spiritual-minded thought leader in a bunch of different spaces. He worked at Lee Steinberg. He was a sports agent for a while. He was in the technology world, and now he's just trying to help and inspire as many people as possible. So that's the goal. That's what I do, and it's been great so far. So before we get into depth with that, with your current career, tell us about the beginners. Like, what made you want to get into like branding, PR, and have like just have like a, I guess, interest in the sports industry? Yeah, I love sports, which I'm sure a lot of listeners on here too, they love sports. Sports is always my life. I grew up in LA, as I said before, but I grew up playing basketball, tennis, soccer, actually ice hockey, which a lot of people over here in Miami too don't play a lot. But I got pretty good at ice hockey. I was traveling with like AAA, AA stuff. And then high school, I played just about every sport. I went to a small high school, so they needed people to play. So I was like team, the point guard on the basketball team, the running back on the football team, and all that stuff. So I love always playing sports, but I also love the business behind it too. I always wondered, how does the NBA make so much money?
Right.
How are these athletes branded as the people when it comes to sports, like the LeBron James of the world? So I ended up going to the University of Michigan.
Okay, Wolverine.
I studied over there. I'm a Wolverine. I hope we got some Wolverines listening. But, yeah, I went there. I studied sports, minored in business, and I got a better understanding of how the sports world actually works. And then that's where I met David. I met David at South by Southwest. Basically said, how do I work for you? And he said, come shadow me for a little bit. So I shadowed him, and next thing you know, started interning, and then I worked for him. But a little bit more of my past of, like, how I got into this. I interned for Gary Vaynerchuk.
I got his book. I study him. I study him a lot. Yeah, Crush. I got to read the first book, but the Crushing It, the second one, with the yellow cover and everything. I'm reading that book, and I'm like, it's like I knew certain stuff, but then certain stuff he talked about and the people that's in the book that I guess he interviewed, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, you could go that deep into, like, you know, social media and whatnot.
Yeah. What strategies did you learn from that book? Are you taking any of those?
Right now, because, you know, with my podcast, a lot of people love the podcast, and like one of my things I want to do for this year, you know, with everything going on with the virus and stuff, whatnot. My whole everything's okay with your family, by the way.
You too, man. You too.
Yeah, man. So with me, is like my next strategy is that I want to attack YouTube. You know, I want to have more visuals. You know, I was very blessed to find someone. One of my homeboys, he got like a studio on the south end of Miami, and he was telling me, you know, I can use it anytime. It's like it's like literally a podcast studio. So, and he told me that he could have visuals and whatnot. But when this pandemic came, it kind of slowed me down. It slowed everybody down, you know. But I'm like, you know, that's one of the things I learned in that book, is that visuals is like one of the major keys.
100%. You know what you could do? This is just a suggestion, but during this pandemic virus time, you could be doing Zoom calls, Zoom podcasts.
Okay.
So it'll be video and audio, and record it, and then you can post that on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't know that. I gotta write that down. Because I always thought like Zoom. I didn't know Zoom could do that. Like, I thought it was like another Skype.
Yeah, no, Zoom you can record. So right now, you and I can record this conversation, and then it comes up like you're on the top or I'm on the top and you're on the bottom. Okay. And it's just like more interactive. Like, we can see each other instead of just audio.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm gonna use that for my next interviews, and hopefully, you know, we have another one, you know, besides this one in the future.
Yeah, man, for sure. Anything we can do to help, we're happy to be here. I'm excited you brought me on.
Exactly. So you was talking about, like, you was going more in depth with your like your beginnings as far as like how you got to the point where you're at now. So tell us a little bit about the journey that you went through so far.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. So just to give the audience a little understanding more, that I'm 23 right now, so I'm not as well-versed experience as I'm sure a lot of other people you've had on here so far. But basically, my whole goal, what I was trying to do for my career, was I'm trying to figure out what I don't like. Right. That'll end up leading to what I do like. So as far as my career goes, my first internship ever was at TED Talks. TED Talks, it's like, have you heard of TED Talks?
Yeah, I love TED Talks.
Yeah, cool. So when I was 16, I worked there in New York City. I flew out there for 2 months to intern over there. And I helped them organize their Brazil conference, basically helping get sponsorships for them and also listening to TED Talks. Yeah. And then I became very well-versed and influenced by TED Talks and learning from people. I became a big learner and curious. And then after that, after TED, I worked at Starbucks as a barista for 6 months while I was in high school. That taught me a lot about life lessons, how to interact with people, a lot about coffee, so I could make any type of coffee now, which a lot of my friends like me because of that. So I learned that. I don't want to really do that full time, but it was a really good learning lesson. And then from there, worked with Gary Vaynerchuk,
Mm-hmm.
with Gary V. I interned for him in his office in New York City. I did social media branding, basically. I was on the entertainment team as an intern. So I helped MTV, Epix, and Sci-Fi with their Twitter, their LinkedIn, and just putting out content.
Right.
And then I had the opportunity to study abroad in Australia, Sydney, Australia, my junior year of college.
Now, how was that?
There, yeah. Oh, that was unbelievable. Australia, a lot of people see it in movies and don't really know what it's like. But it's heaven. It's really heaven over there. Everyone's happy all the time. There's beaches. Not a lot of people work so much. There's not a lot of motivation to up the ladder. So when I was there, I decided to not just do what my friends were doing and like go to the beach every day and just party. I got an internship there. So I interned for like the Yankees of Australia, like their baseball team.
Oh, okay.
Which was cool. They were called the Sydney Blue Sox. I did basically like their marketing stuff, and then funny thing is I've been telling people is that when I was there, they needed a mascot.
Right.
One of the interns to be a mascot, and I stepped up to the plate. So I was like the mascot with everything on for like 6 or 7 times that they needed. So that was fun. And that was a good time. And then I left Australia. I came back to America. I worked for a real estate company, trying to find them new deals. That was 2 summers ago.
Right.
And then now I work for David Meltzer. I have a full-time job, head of PR at Dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically been my story. But the main thing I've been telling people, I think, is what inspires a lot of college students to me is that if you just reach out to the people that you want to be like,
right,
or you want to learn from on Instagram, LinkedIn, just DM them, everyone's happy to help.
Yeah.
So the more you reach out for help, the more you ask, the more you'll get in return. So I think what should be like the theme of this episode is that if you ask, you'll get. If you don't ask, you won't get. So just keep asking for anything, whatever it is. Can I get 5 minutes of your time? Can I have an internship?
Right.
And that's how you get stuff done in today's society, and that's what I've noticed.
Yeah, it is very important. Like I remind people, because I've been doing this podcast for about 3 years. So pretty much, like I tell people always ask me, like close friends of mine and family, they're like, "How did you get all these people on your show?" And I was basically telling them, like, as a DJ, I remember I'm 28, but I remember when I was like 15, 16 years old. When I first started out, I don't know if you remember MySpace.
Yeah,
it was in them days. MySpace was like before SoundCloud and all that. And so pretty much, I had to promote myself, for myself. Like, I didn't really have no one to promote me as a DJ. So I started adding people. I'm talking about even when I was in high school playing football, like in the summers, like we'll have like morning practices. So I wake up early in the morning. My mom will drop me off to practice. Practice be like maybe 2 hours. She'll pick me up, take me, get me something to eat, like breakfast, because it was still like breakfast.
Yeah.
Practice from like 6 to 8, so it's still like early, like 9:30. Then I'll literally come home, take a shower, get in front of my computer, go on MySpace, and keep adding people. Instant messaging people, asking about, can you give me your music, or can you help promote me or whatnot. And then, so when I started my podcast, I'm like, I need to go back to that. I need to start engaging with people more. Like, so my first interview was with someone I went to high school with, and that was good because it was more like a test run. So now, you know what? I can do this, anytime. Like, I can do this with anybody. So, I use Instagram to reach out to people. Then I started using LinkedIn recently because LinkedIn, I noticed that I had a lot of people that was in different industries that was deep in, whether it's technology, sports, entrepreneurs, politicians. So I was like, you know what? Let me expand my horizon, but still engage with different people.
LinkedIn's a powerful platform.
Right.
It's good that you're on there. That's where the real business professionals are there, and you can also see their resume too.
Right.
Give you a better understanding of who you're talking to. So sounds like you're pushing it correctly.
Yeah. So I guess give us a day-to-day of being a branding manager,